Welcome to Term 1. Now, everything that you require in middle and upper primary is located in one handy position through the home page. And once you click into that page, it's quite lengthy. At the top, you will find the downloadable manuals. Following that, the training options, the program options, and finally at the bottom, you will find information related to screening and tracking. Let's start with a screening overview. In your screening and tracking manual, there is a full year plan for screening your age-appropriate students and also your delayed students. Really nice overview pages that you'll find in the teaching sequence manual. Step 1 is to present your placement test and mark that placement test and then place the data or the results onto a tracking sheet. Within this video, we're going to look at what is the process so that you establish 3 targeted teaching groups. So you have your week 1 in term 1 placement test, which sets levels for the remainder of term 1. Do take note of when to discontinue the screen and also the marking key. You then have a end of term 1 placement test that sets levels for term 2, an end of term 2 screen that sets levels for term 3, and an end of term 3 screen that sets levels for term 4. There are student templates. Do know that it is only tier 2 a little bit behind, and tier 3 students that are significantly behind, that you should be noting their phonic gaps. If they're age appropriate, I don't want you to identify the gaps. What is more useful is that you place these students on a broad-based teaching sequence. Now, this is something that we're going to look at within this video. With your data and your results, the students start off in alphabetical order, but then we're going to start to align them in a triangle. Down the bottom of your spreadsheet will be all your relatively age-appropriate students. They could be close to where they should be, or sometimes a little advanced. Now, for these strong tier 1 students, what we're going to do is place them onto a teaching sequence overview. You're not going to identify and teach the errors, no. Place them onto a teaching sequence overview. Your tier 2 students, 1 to 2 stages behind. Your tier 3 students, sometimes 2 to 3 stages behind. Yes, you are going to identify and create your own targeted teaching plan for those students. The tracking sheets. So step 1, present your screen and mark the screen, paying particular attention to these areas within your teaching sequence, paying particular attention to the percentage converter, and then step 2, highlighting what do you intend to teach? Looking at the full range of the numbers, not just going for the first time students dip under 85, but looking at the full range of numbers to make a decision. Where do you think targeted teaching efforts should be focused upon? The next step is to move those students. They start off in alphabetical order. The screening looks all patchy. And the colour coding on your tracking sheet looks patchy, but then we're going to pull all your students that are quite strong, your tier 1 students, down to the bottom of the tracking sheet. We're going to put your weaker students at the bottom, and in the middle will be your tier 2 students. It's then important to reflect and look at the numbers in the highlighted columns above and below, and just make sure that the groupings you've established are the correct groupings. Some students might be dropped, some might be moved up, but to reflect there. It's then important to establish those 3 targeted teaching groups and to describe your focus. In this particular example, we have quite a significantly delayed student who is receiving education assistant funding, and it has an NDIS type diagnosis, so they are on an individualised program, but the teacher is running these 3 targeted teaching groups. Red flags inside your manuals. Okay, red flag 1. I've entered the data and I'm finished. No, you're not finished, because all you have achieved is you've done your placement test and you put your testing onto a spreadsheet. You're halfway. Where are steps 4, 5, and 6? There is no targeted teaching plan there. Red flag number 2, finished with all that patchy highlighting. No, you're closer to finishing, but in fact, there's again no targeted teaching plan. These top students need to be moved to the bottom of the spreadsheet. The weak students are moved to the top. You should be establishing rectangles so that you can analyse and look at those levels. Finished, here we go. No, because PLD says 3 targeted teaching groups, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This teacher says, is communicating, I've got 5 groups. No, that's not possible. Reflect on that. And a number of those groups, we're going to have to widen the focus so that it's a combination target 2, target 3, and a stage 2, stage 3, and a straight target 4, so that there are only 3 targeted teaching groups. Your teaching sequence manuals are ideal and designed not for the whole class, but for your Tier 1 students, so that at least one group is easy to plan week by week, what to teach, what are the lists, and what are the phonic dictation passages. For your Tier 1 students, you have 2 options. You can teach by year level, Year 3, Term 1, Year 3, Term 2, Year 3, Term 3, or the other option is this is the first term of a Stage 4 program, a second term, a third term. So you can either categorise and use these teaching sequence by actual year and term levels, or by where the students are located within a stage. Remember, Tier 1 on that teaching sequence, Tier 2 and Tier 3, you're creating a plan for them. Please, for Tier 1, do not just teach the 16 placement test errors, or else you will be moving your strong students through those stages too quickly. Stages 1, 2, and 3 have 4 school terms of coverage. Stages 4, 5, and 6 have 5 school terms to cover the content in that teaching sequence outline. So is it important to identify the type of errors? Yes, if they're Tier 2 and Tier 3, if they're delayed, and we're aiming to catch them up by a shorter, smaller focus in all of those stages. If they're where they're strong or where they should be, no, because you're going to slow down and teach broadly. Remember, there's support available through the PLD site. Also remember that teaching spelling is teaching reading, and the two should occur alongside each other. And by screening spelling, we also have an indication of reading ability. So early in the year, if you're new to PLD, just start your spelling placement tests, and in the school year, and in subsequent videos, we will look at the reading screening that should occur alongside the spelling screening. The Term 2 tips video is going to look at the teaching routines. All I'm going to do to conclude this video quite quickly is to look at your structure of your lesson block. So number 1, please do not refer to those phonic lists as spelling lists. We can think more broadly. Children need to be able to read and spell the words. They need to be able to sound out the words in phonemes, in syllables. Importantly, they need to understand the words, transfer their words into their extended writing, and retain the concepts, not just on the week that they're fresh in their mind, but over the long term. Your diet of activities that are embedded in the Time Savers programs. Monday, Tuesday, early in the week, speech sound mapping. You're going to speak, map to the letters, speak the sounds, map it to the letters. Those spoken sounds could be phonemes, they could be syllables, they could be morpheme units. That's your orthographic mapping. Midweek, what do the words mean? Because if you can read and spell the words but you don't know what they mean, there is minimal benefit to you, to your students. And end of the week, we rehearse transferring those increasingly concepts into extended writing. Remember the online support, and I wish you an amazing Term 1 and success with the PLD program. This concludes Term 1 Essentials. If you found this information useful, don't forget to click the subscribe button and check out our related videos shown here. If you have any questions or feedback, please add them to the comments below and we'll be sure to respond. Otherwise, you can reach us via live chat on our website, pld-literacy.org. Thanks again for viewing.